The Melbourne Sports and Entertainment Precinct is a series of sports stadiums and venues located in Melbourne, Victoria in Australia. The precinct is situated around 3 kilometres east of the Melbourne city centre, located in suburbs of Melbourne and Jolimont, near East Melbourne and Richmond. It is considered to be Australia's premier sports precinct, and regularly hosts some of the biggest domestic and international sporting events, including the AFL Grand Final, Australian Open and Boxing Day Test. The venues have also previously hosted the 1956 Summer Olympics and 2006 Commonwealth Games. For the 1956 Games, the venues hosted the track cycling, field hockey, football, and the aquatic events. Sports venues and stadiums. The precinct comprises 3 areas: Olympic Park, Melbourne Park and Yarra Park. Olympic and Melbourne Parks are jointly managed, and Yarra Park is managed separately. The precinct is bordered to the north by Wellington Parade, to the east by Punt Road, to the south by the Yarra River, and to the west by Batman Avenue. Olympic Park. This zone was known as Olympic Park long before the Olympics were awarded to Melbourne, and was named for Olympic Park Stadium, which was contained within this zone. AAMI Park, the premier purpose-built venue for rectangular field sports, and used for large outdoor stadium concerts. Holden Centre, a training facility used by the Collingwood Football Club, but formerly a 7,000-capacity stadium used originally for swimming, then later for basketball. Olympic Park Oval, a public playing field and AMP running track, now primarily used for training purposes by the Collingwood Football Club. Gosh's Paddock, a public playing field previously used for training by the Collingwood Football Club, and now used by the Melbourne Football Club. Melbourne Storm Rugby League Club and AMP Melbourne Victory FC for training purposes. Former venues: Eastern Sports Ground, stadium that hosted the preliminary rounds of the field hockey competition of the 1956 Summer Olympics. Afterwards was used for greyhound racing, then demolished for the first Collingwood training ground in the precinct, and at the end the site was used for the new rectangular stadium. Velodrome, a former speedway and Australian rules football ground, demolished 1951 and replaced by Olympic Park Stadium. Olympic Park Stadium, formerly the premier venue for track and field and rectangular field sports. The stadium was superseded for rectangular field sports by AAMI Park in 2011, and was demolished in 2011-12. Velodrome, a 4,400-seat, 333 meters long velodrome that was used for the track cycling events of the 1956 Olympics. This venue was located on the northern Swan Street side of the Olympic Park. Melbourne Park Rod Laver Arena, the premier venue for large indoor stadium concerts, and centre court for tennis in Melbourne Park. Also used in the past for basketball. Hisense Arena, the premier venue for basketball and netball, the second largest court for tennis in Melbourne Park, and a venue for indoor stadium concerts. Can be converted to a velodrome for major track cycling events. Margaret Court Arena, the third largest tennis court in Melbourne Park. Melbourne Park Tennis Complex, including 3 outdoor show courts, 5 indoor courts, and more than 20 outdoor courts, which are used for professional matches and available for public hire. Melbourne Park Function Centre, Yarra Park Melbourne Cricket Ground, the premier venue for cricket and Australian rules football, and occasionally for other high-drawing field sports events. Punt Road Oval, training facility for the Richmond Football Club, but formerly used for Australian rules football and Premier grade cricket. National Sports Museum, located at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. Former venues: East Melbourne Cricket Ground, located in the northwestern corner of Yarra Park, and used for Australian rules football and Premier grade cricket. Demolished 1922 to make way for the Jolimont rail yards. Access: the precinct is located adjacent to both the Richmond and Jolimont railway stations. Every train servicing the eastern side of Melbourne passes through one of these two stations. The precinct is also serviced by 3 tram routes from the city centre. 3 footbridges are provided to cross the railway lines which divide the northern and southern halves of the precinct. The area in Yarra Park surrounding the Melbourne Cricket Ground is made available for ticketed car parking during major events in the precinct. Free parking in the surrounding streets is available but limited.